Hello, I'm Comely and Jessa.
And I'm On Few Lord.
And welcome to Cult and Kiwi Smashes, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater. We're playing with anagrams today.
Is this how you see the world, Jess?
This is how I see the world. I like the way I think, you know?
I can't say the same.
I think differently than most people.
You certainly do. I mean, look at how the letters are all scrambled up and they're different now.
Yeah, and they make new words out of them. Aren't I quirky?
You are the quirkiest, in fact.
Yeah, if I was any quirkier, I'd be a Diablo Cody script. But instead, we're going to have to deal with David Lindsay-Abaire. So we are recording this episode hot off of the Tonys, and this was always kind of the plan to cover this, but now it's much more prescient. This week, in case you haven't picked up what we're throwing down, we are talking about the Tony winner for Best Musical, Kimberly Akimbo. Cue the music.
It's Saturday night at the skater plant and there's Zambonis on the ice. So we hang around here waiting, all the action's at the mall. But we'd rather be here skating, the action's at the mall. But we'd rather be here skating. In New Jersey.
Kimberly Akimbo was written by David Lindsay-Abaire with music and lyrics by Janine Tesori and David Lindsay-Abaire, reuniting for the first time since Shrek the Musical. It was based on David Lindsay-Abaire's play, Kimberly Akimbo, from 2001. The musical's premiere production opened off Broadway on December 8, 2021 at the Linda Gross Theater in Manhattan. It was critically acclaimed with performances of Victoria Clark, Justin Cooley, and Bonnie Mulligan, and the book and lyrics being very highly praised. It won Best Musical prizes at the Drama Desk Awards, Lucille Lortel, and Outer Critics Circle Awards, and that's just the off-Broadway production. The show moved to Broadway, opening at the Booth Theater on November 12, 2022, with previews beginning on October 12th. The Broadway production also received critical acclaim, winning 5 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, Best Book of a Musical, Best Original Score, Best Leading Actress in a Musical, and Best Featured Actress in a Musical. So, Victoria Clark and Bonnie Mulligan. The plot of Kimberly Akimbo is Kim is a bright and funny Jersey teen who happens to look like a 72-year-old lady. And yet her aging condition may be the least of her problems. Forced to maneuver family secrets, borderline personalities, and possible felony charges, Kim is determined to find happiness in a world where not even time is on her side, based on the play of the same name. So, we just dropped you right into Kimberly Akimbo, Andrew. You were in New York recently, as was I, and we saw, this show everywhere. It's all over the place. Before seeing it, What did you think the show was?
I'll be honest, I had basically no idea. The marketing for it is kind of... it's just like a picture of a shirt with a rainbow on it that says Kimberly Akimbo.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what to take from that. I honestly assumed she was gay.
You thought it was just
something?
Fun Home again?
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying that would have been bad. Just that's what I thought. It's not even close to the case. I was completely wrong.
This show's weird.
Yeah.
It might be one of the more weird Broadway shows in a while.
I'm kind of okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of liked it, honestly.
Just sort of? That's a very,
I just watched it last night, so I'm still, thinking about it. There's a lot in the show, and there's a lot to think about that the show gives you a little bit. I think that it was mostly pretty good, though. There's some, quirkiness that I'm not a huge fan of, although less from the main characters and more from that kid that she becomes friends with, who I found to be a bit unbearable in certain ways.
What do you feel about that kid was specifically unbearable? Just because I think his name's Seth.
Just the mannerisms, I think, is just a little bit
too Evan Hansen-y.
It's overly quirky in a way that is can be unbearable. Although that might be just accurate to how some teenagers behave. So,
I mean, a lot of them pretend to be their favorite anime characters and then go out into public. So,
ooh.
They they could have embraced that side of it. This does feel... I was both surprised and not particularly surprised to know that the original play was written in the early 2000s and the early aughts, because this feels like teenagers as seen through the eyes of 2001.
There's no references to anything like that, but if you imagine that this show takes place in 2001, it makes a lot of sense.
Did you see one cell phone, really?
No. And I feel like there's a lot more like gay panic type thing than you would see in 2023 in a high school. Although I haven't been in a high school in 2023, so who knows on that one.
I feel like it's changed a lot since we were there. We're no longer the spring chickens we once were. They're probably a lot more accepting, a lot more... I don't know. I feel like they sanitized high school so much that it feels like not even a school, but then they have like the hard-hitting adult stuff.
Yeah, well, school in 2001 was nightmarish hellscape type thing, you know, like every form of bullying you could imagine at all times.
And now it's just all on the internet.
Yeah. Now I'm the one doing it to all these little kids. They have to tolerate me.
He's coming for you, Ben Platt, noted 16-year-old.
It is interesting that this is, you know, kind of an adaptation of the Dear Evan Hansen movie.
It really... You know, if they had just leaned into that for the Evan Hansen movie...
In that there's a teenager who looks like a 72-year-old.
Just hanging out, like there's no issue.
I was wondering what your thought is. Is this like... This is a real disorder that people have. It's not offensive to them in any way, right?
Why would it be?
I don't know. Every time we see something like this, I'm like, is it? Probably not, right?
I really don't know. They say it's similar to progeria, which is this very specific disease that they...
Similar, not the same.
Yeah.
This one's like a fantasy version of it.
Yeah, Benjamin Button fantasy, realistic fiction kind of vibe.
Yeah.
What is the plot of Kimberly Akimbo? Because even the plot I read, which is officially like the Playbill thing, I feel like it kind of doesn't sum it up. Like, it
just kind of skirts around everything.
Just barely. So before watching the show, I listened to the cast album because I'm old now. I don't think like musicals don't hit the same way for me anymore as they did when we first started the show. It's hard for me to get passionate about these new shows sincerely, which is maybe just me getting old and cynical and everything being shit now. But I really wanted to see, like, everyone's saying this is great. I'm going to listen to the cast album and see if I can get into it. And I couldn't. But I was surprised by some of the things going on there. And then I eventually did watch the bootleg, and I thought it's better to see it live, obviously, and see what's going on.
I feel like this is a rare show where I actually kind of like the book more than the music.
That is a rare one, yeah.
I feel like the music isn't bad. It's just kind of...
It's not additive to it. Like, you could have this entire story without the songs.
Yeah, which they did.
Yeah, it was called the original play.
Not that the songs take away from anything. It's just it's not as much of a, which it's honestly a good thing. We don't talk about shows where it's like, oh, the book was really good.
Is there another one where you can really think of like, oh, that was a really good book? Maybe Hades?
Not off the top of my head. I love the Hadestown music, so I can't possibly say that.
This is Jeanine Tesori, one of the most prolific Broadway composers.
And she did not do a bad job. Don't take this as me saying the music is bad. It's not. I just think I liked the book more than I liked the music.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I'm only setting this up because we are going to have to do a tier list at the end of this episode. We finally covered enough of her work where we can rank it.
Oh. And you're gonna have to tell me what I'm ranking.
Oh, you will. You'll remember most of them. I know you will. There's not forgetting much of this. But it seems the biggest thing that tracks along every one of her pieces of musical theater, it's sad dads and weird parental bullshit. Like all of them.
It's in there.
Even Shrek the musical, it's in there.
We should go over the plot.
Yes. What is Kimberly Akimbo about?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously we've been talking about it. Kimberly Akimbo is not her name. Actually, it's Kimberly, good Lord, I can't remember what her last name is.
Like that?
Yeah, like Leota or something.
Levaco.
Levaco, that's, okay. Cleverly Akimbo is a nickname that is given to her later.
Because of anagrams.
Anagrams. I'm probably still going to call her Kimberly Akimbo through this entire thing, though.
Because that's the title of the show.
Well, she's about to turn 16 at the start of the show, and she has a genetic disorder that makes her age 4 times faster in certain ways, which
puts her life expectancy at around 16 years old.
Around 16, and of course she is about to turn 16, so kind of sad.
But it gets even sadder because her mother and father are pregnant with what is supposed to be the replacement child.
There's just a lot of other, so the dad is, very much leaning into alcohol to... I think they never explicitly say any of this, but my thought is he is trying to numb himself for when she dies, is turning to that.
But it could also be the other reveal in the second half that he's reacting to.
Yeah, it could be both. It probably is both. The mother, who is pregnant, she's kind of what do they call that? The people that are they fake illnesses and things to get attention.
Munchausen by
not by proxy, just
not by
Munchausen.
Proxy. Munchausen's disorder.
Yeah, because it seems like she's using the fact that she has been in the hospitals and stuff to try to get attention away from Kimberly, who is probably about to die pretty soon. And she's like, I have it worse. I have all these things that are wrong. And it's like, yeah, sure. And then, there's a bunch of kids at school, but they are unrelated to the story in a lot of ways. Do we even need to talk about, there's the 4 kids that they keep introducing.
That's probably my biggest fault in it, is we don't really need the ensemble. And I know people love Bonnie Milligan. I love Bonnie Milligan. Do we really need the Aunt Deborah character?
Well, kind of, but not really. So, plot-wise, you don't need her, but she introduces elements.
Yeah.
Aunt Deborah is, who's the guy from Randy Quaid from Christmas Vacation?
Cousin Randy.
She's Cousin Randy. She shows up randomly in Kimberly's
school library.
They just moved to get away from her. Kimberly's family moved away to get away from the aunt. At least that's what they kind of say or imply. I think there's a reveal that changes the context of that, but she follows them and is living in the school library, which I don't know how. That seems
for jokey jokes.
Her entire character, you could basically say, for jokey jokes.
You need to have some comedy relief.
And I understand it. I understand why you'd want to have some comedy relief. And I'm partially okay with this character.
Andrew loves King Herod.
I love scams. And she introduces the scam plot.
Yes.
Which definitely hurts a lot of people. They steal so many checks. and the main characters just go along with it and
they're kids
and get away with it, and it's excellent. But there's all that. Do you want to do the big reveal? What's the big reveal in Act 2?
The big reveal in Act 2, which honestly, I don't know. I have difficulty with this reveal because it doesn't really change anything emotionally. I think a twist or a reveal should really change the context of what happened before, and this doesn't really do that much, sincerely.
Only a little bit. It changes the context of why they moved.
Why did these characters move? It doesn't impact their relationships with one another. It doesn't explain the way that they treat one another, really.
It sort of maybe contextualizes a little bit why the mother is hostile to the others. I don't know.
Not much, but basically we find out that... Oh God, this is so stupid. I'm sorry. This is a little too ridiculous for me. So they had to move because the mom wanted another baby, so she fucks the neighbor and gets pregnant, and then the dad hires the aunt to go intimidate the neighbor, but accidentally kills him, so now they're on the run.
Yeah.
Little goofy, right?
It's a little bit crazy, and it tonally is a little bit weird for what the rest of the show's doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. The show has this weird mix of like depressing, grounded plot points
Mm-hmm.
mixed with like whimsical, quirky
Magical realism.
magic. Yeah, it's like, and they're blended, and I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I feel like there could have been like maybe one more rewrite here before fully Broadway.
I feel like they got really hyped by the positive praise they were getting, and
I think it deserves it.
I don't even think the praise is undeserving. Like, let's just say that. But
there's just like there's a couple things that I would have wanted to make it perfect.
Mhm. I did have a thought midway through Act 2, and I don't know if you'll disagree with me, but it came into my head. I'm like, this shouldn't be on stage. This feels like a movie. Like, it feels like it should be a movie.
I feel like with a movie, the mix of grounded like realism and magic realism could work better.
Yes.
They would have an easier time going between those two things.
Yeah, and you'd still have all the good things. Like, specifically, Victoria Clark's performance as Kimberly is very, very good. I see why people are like, no, this is next level kind of performance here. It does change the game. Bonnie Milligan, I love her in a lot of things. She's very funny.
I really think that the family dynamic is what carries the show like super hard. And by family, I'm excluding the aunt.
Yeah. Buddy, Patty, and Kimberly, and a little bit of Seth. I feel like when Seth as a narrative tool, throwing a wrench in Buddy's complex feelings of, I'm glad she has a friend, but also men around women in my family make me uncomfortable for reasons I haven't unpacked yet. And yeah, she looks like she's a 75-year-old woman with like feelings and opinions, but also she's my 16-year-old daughter. Like, it is a complicated thing. And I like that moment a lot, actually.
And there's some very strong moments, but they're sort of undercut by the aunt scenes and the scenes of the kids that are just sort of unrelated to everything. Like, unrelated to the point where Kimberly barely interacts with them.
Yeah. I don't think I could name you any of their names or personality quirks, really.
I'm not even sure all of them had names.
The thing is, everyone else is so quirky and specific, Kimberly and Seth and the parents, that Delia and Martin and Aaron and Teresa, there's nothing left for them. There's nothing that you could do to make them really stand out.
You know, I don't want to dwell fully on the downsides, though.
No.
The stuff with Kimberly and her family, especially near the end when she decides she's gonna go on the road trip, and I feel like the whole time where everyone road trip is dead. You know, bye, I'm going to heaven now.
Right. It means death.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing is just like, goddamn, this is why you got Tony.
Yeah. And so on her 16th birthday, she learns all the horrible things that happened in her family's past, why they moved from a different place. Then she has a medical emergency, has to be in the hospital for a few days, and comes home and finds her room cleared out with baby shit. They had no intention of her ever coming home, and that's such a fucked up thing. Like, that moment is just like, so I wouldn't know how to feel. That's such a strange, like, gross feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah, like they won't say it, but they all just were like, she's definitely gonna die in the hospital. Like, that's it.
I sincerely prefer this way of, specifically Broadway, handling topics like, let's just call it terminal illness, in this fantastical, magical realism way, because moments like that will hit harder and surprise you and still let you sing and dance and be emotional about that in a way that, let's say, Next to Normal or Dear Evan Hansen just fumbles the ball.
So really, like, the ending, they just kind of fucking nail it, you know? So.
And the fact that it ends, I'm surprised there's no roller coaster jokes in the fucking reviews, with them going to Six Flags Great Adventure and the final number being called Great Adventure. I thought you'd get a real big kick out of that, Mr. fucking Roly Coasters.
Great Adventure is the one in New Jersey, right?
Right.
Yeah. I've never been.
What?
I don't want to go.
That's like
She would die on a roller coaster, though. Let's be real. I know she's 16, but she's not 16.
Yeah,
not in that way.
Maybe she could do like the teacups. Why would she want a treehouse? Not to harp on that one, but she sends Make-A-Wish.
No, the treehouse is for the baby.
Oh,
she's not going to use the treehouse.
But they don't even have a tree.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that part. That one was weird.
It just felt like a misplaced joke. And as someone that
almost felt like the dad was trying to be like, why didn't you just ask for money or something like that?
Which, I get it. On that note, how about we compare our opinions to those of the theater critics around town? It's time for previews.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
Our first review comes from the New York Times, Jesse Green himself, written November 10th, 2022. He says, being a former good kid, and like Seth, an aficionado with the puzzlistic art, I began to see the character in the form of an anamagrammic terms, possibly this one, sublime cast equals best musical, as the past and present interpretate in Clark's performance. You may feel, as I did, the themes of Kimberly Akimbo recombining to achieve an even sharper focus. So, we're recording this a few days after the Tonys. And they actually did that anagram the first night after the Tony Awards, where they went from Sublime Cast to Best Musical, and the audience lost their shit.
Yeah, the cast did a great job. I want to talk about the aunt character and how I didn't love that, but I feel like the performance was exactly what they wanted and exactly what they were going for. So it's not the actor's fault. It's just I don't know how I feel about that character being in this show.
It feels like you throw a character from, National Lampoon's Vacation into a fucking rabbit hole. The next review comes from Deadline. It was written by Greg Evans. Opening tonight at the Booth Theater with its original off-Broadway cast intact, the miraculous Victoria Clark leading the very fine ensemble, Kimberly Akimbo remains a stunner. A sly, quirky, eccentric work of stage art transformed into a crowd pleaser by playwright David Lindsay Abair's captivating book and lyrics. Janine Tesori's delightful music that, like Kimberly Akimbo itself, works its way into your heart with a jauntiness that both hides and ultimately amplifies its serious emotion. I don't know. I feel like the music distracts more than anything else.
The ending song and the mother's song, Father Time or something like that, those were very, very good. And I think they did actually heighten those moments a lot.
But then you get moments like Good Kid, where I'm just like, I could feel myself like falling asleep.
Do we need this? I mean, it's like, I don't know. So it's sort of hit or miss on the music front. Not hit or miss in that there's bad songs. It's more like, do we need these songs to tell this story?
There are some story songs that really, I think, work. Like, I Should Be Happy for Her, which is Buddy's song when he's driving Kimberly and Seth around. That's like a perfect story song,
yes.
As well as Before I Go, which is the 11 o'clock number. Incredible. But aside from those pieces, they're just cute, sincerely. I think we basically agree with the critics here, because the musical is good. It's hard to be like negative against this show, but I can see something better through the trees,
Yeah, this is one of those episodes where we're going to get people saying, they didn't like this show. What the fuck?
I can't believe they tore apart Kimberly Akimbo. And we're like, eh.
But like, we're more just like, damn, this was really good, but it could have been better.
Mm-hmm. So when Fun Home came out, I remember one critic said, while this is a very good musical, I'm not sure it was destined to be a musical and that it's the best way to transform this book. That's kind of how I feel about this. I'm like, it's a good musical, but I'm not sure a musical was the best form for this story.
Maybe, I mean, it won the Tony. Maybe we can get like a movie adaptation, and then that actually might be the best version of it.
Honestly, if you're going to do the Dear Evan Hansen thing, bring Victoria Clark back. She can't age out of the role.
It's true. They literally just have her in old makeup. Worst case scenario, she just gets old.
Oh my God. They just be like, it makes you age 5 times faster. Wink. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially compared to a lot of the other new musicals out right now. Which, do you want to actually talk about some of them?
Yeah, we could talk about your amazing Tony predictions.
We have And Juliet, which I hear is very good, but it is a jukebox musical about Romeo and Juliet. Like, it knows what it is. It knows it's for an audience. And from what I gather, it's like very emotional. It's very good. But
I've heard very good things. The soundtrack is good. I mean, I've listened to some of it just from like edits I've been doing.
yeah.
I've listened to a lot of the soundtrack, and I mean, they're pop songs, but they're done in different ways and they're done well.
And that's kind of the good thing about the original Moulin Rouge film is they're pop songs done in a different way. Then we have New York, New York. Do you know anything about this?
Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Yes. So Kander and Ebb were the guys behind Cabaret and Chicago and all those classic things. They also wrote a lot of pop songs like New York, New York for Frank Sinatra. So they're taking all those songs and a couple of new ones because Fred Ebb has died. Lin-Manuel Miranda took over the lyrics, and apparently it's not good.
Oh, that's a shame. Those are good songs, but I mean, geez, are those musical songs though? They are just kind of pop songs. Like,
yeah. That's a bad jukebox musical as far as people are concerned.
But again, we now have 2 jukebox musicals here, which Kimberly Akimbo thankfully is not.
No.
So.
Well, let's talk about Shucked, which was the one I was thinking might
I've
take
heard
it
good
this year.
things. I've heard really good things, so we have to watch that.
My favorite thing about Shucked is it feels like one of the things we'd come up with on Make Me a Musical. I think I've brought that up to you before. It's like, oh no, we're running out of corn. Got to go to the big city to figure out where to have all our corn. I'm like, hell yeah.
That is literally, I think we've written almost exactly that on
for
Make Me a
mushrooms.
Musical before. Yeah.
Totally into it. A lot of the Tony winners, Alex Newell came from that, so that's pretty cool. And then Some Like It Hot, which is a stage adaptation of a film, a Marilyn Monroe film. Little transphobic, but it has Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman coming back. Not really my thing. I've heard it's good, but man dressed as women, the joke kind of died with Tootsie. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear it's a hoot, so.
It's a hoot. But as far as the competition, you know what? Fair. Kimberly Akimbo deserved it this year.
I feel like there's a lot of years where this would win because, I mean, there's a lot of years like this year, so.
Yeah, it's not like the Strange Loop year where it was strangely packed.
Yeah, like there's a lot of years where everything that comes out is probably a jukebox musical or trash. So it's good to see a show like this, you know. That
I was
pretty
seriously surprised that Parade took Best Revival and Best Direction of a revival over Sweeney Todd.
Well, you just straight up said you did not like the direction of Parade, is that right?
No, I didn't mind. There was elements I didn't like the direction of Parade.
I think Sweeney Todd got a little bit robbed. Sweeney Todd was pretty good.
Honestly, I think my direction would have probably gone to Into the Woods. I really, really enjoyed watching that revival, but it's not showy at all. Michael Arden, good director, made choices there, is all I'll say. Let's go into a mid-show, and then we'll talk about some of these tunes. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you. Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Patreon is this place where you get some cool shit. We had a Patreon meetup with a bunch of our friends. Andrew was there. We showed up. And then we also get to have some commentaries. Maybe for our 250th, me and Andrew will do a commentary on something very special related to our 250th episode. That would be pretty cool. There's a lot of cool things coming up there, and it's going to be a lot more consistent because I'm not going to be killing myself making a film every week. Now that's over. I'm free. But our current donors are Melissa Goldman, Danielle Rennick, Justice Stampede, Owen Cassidy, Monica Thoreau, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Jen A.C., Scoot in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Nothing is Certain Except Beth in Taxes, Thesbian, Jessica T., Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Chris Marcotte, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Layla, RJ Narija, Bjorn Hermans, Toriana Frazier, Sammy the Adequate Amount Lopez. Oh no! Sammy the Adequate Amount Jacobson. Did they get married?
Divorce.
Stop laughing. This is not funny.
Lyanna Morton, Kaylee Blazier, Cinemageddon Reviews, Villainous Miss, Sofiana Ali, The Omega Geek, Paige Pearson, Maddie Wargle, Elisa Erdman, Anna Los Katova, Sarah Den Blackier, Evan Ball, Zachary Torres, Aurora Morasso, Mara Forloin, Captain Rodtastic, Lisa L, Nobody, Rick Roten, Puffy Boy Summer, Julia Hardy, Jay Kusia, and Caitlin Bridgman. They give us a little extra financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. Literally, because the power might go out any second for me. If you'd like to join,
thunder looms.
It does. It's like Thor is coming down. If you would like to join them in supporting us and helping us do this, sincerely, come join them over at Patreon. It really is financially keeping us afloat, more than we probably let on. Thank you guys, and let's get back to the show. What do you think of the opening number, Skater Planet, at the skating rink?
It's Saturday night in Buckcrack Township on a road without a sign. In a town where there's not much in, 40 minutes east of Hope, 40 miles from the touch-in. I'm with the one I love. It's Saturday night and I'm the new girl, so I get to start from scratch. Next to Lodi, this is dreamy. Sure, tonight I'm getting looks, but tomorrow they might see me. I'm always getting looks. They never really see me. In New Jersey. In New Jersey. Nothing's right. Nothing is right.
I'm gonna be real. I think the opening kind of stinks.
I don't like the skating rink as a connective tissue, sincerely. Like,
Well,
you know
what
what
does
I
it
mean?
even connect?
Like, they
Kimberly
keep
never
coming
goes
back there. The mom, they do.
Do they?
Yeah, because the mom gets on the skates and breaks like another piece
Oh,
of
right.
That's the only reason why I remembered, is because I was like, oh no, the pregnant lady's on the skates.
Kimberly never goes back with those kids, though.
No.
The kids keep talking about how they're gonna go back, and she never does.
Yeah. But the mom does. It's kind of cool that they're roller skating on stage. And I think specific details.
Jess thinks it's really cool when shows have roller skating on stage.
No, because they're not roller skating. They're it's like proper ice skating blades on a stage. And I think that's pretty cool. And I watched a little bit of how they had to be very careful about it and how they have to make sure that the stage is super duper clean. Like, I think that's pretty impressive. Visually it's really cool. Like when the snow starts coming down like that, I couldn't tell if it was like physical projections or a good mix of both, but the physical like thing where they have to actually like skate on roller skate. What is it? What is the thing? The ice one.
Skates. Not roller, though.
Yeah.
Ice skates.
Ice skates. Like stage ice skates. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that, like, story-wise, the part where she's, like, waiting in the cold and her dad shows up super late and is drunk, like, all that is great. But the actual initial opening song is just kind of like, why?
It's like, it feels very poppy, like,
Yeah, it's just, and I honestly feel like the better first song would have been the song the mom does, where it's like explaining what her character is, but that's not really good as
But we
an
don't
opener.
set up that they're in New Jersey 50 times that way, Andrew.
It's true. Which, being in New Jersey is very important because
Jersey
Six
sucks.
Flags Great Adventure.
Oh, okay.
There's no other Six Flags. That's the only one.
Yeah, there's the one with the Batman ride and nothing else. Let's move on. One of my favorite like little storytelling pieces is the mom's song, and it is what we end on. The Hello Darling, like where she's doing video messages to her unborn baby.
Hello, darling.
It's me, your mother. You're in my belly right now, and sometimes you kick me. Isn't that precious? Isn't that precious? Hey, guess what? I have no hands. Just kidding. I have hands, but I just can't use them. Not yet, at least. But just as soon as the stitches heal. I had carpal tunnel, both hands. All those years in load, I took their toll. 16 years I worked in the Sunshine Cupcake Factory, pumping cream into those ding-dong knockoffs. 16 years of squeezing that goddamn cream gun.
I really enjoyed that as a way to tell stories, and I feel like they kind of stole it a little bit from Waitress, the Dear Baby kind of thing. But I'm not claiming this. This predates Waitress because 2001 play.
Yeah, I think that the way it characterizes the mother is like hostile to her own family in a way, and like very needy for attention.
Yeah,
it's interesting,
and it's very. I think it's pointed a little bit that the mother almost seems jealous of their daughter, who looks like her mother. Like, looks like old enough to be your mother. There's a weird kind of emotional disconnect going on there with me, where it's like seeing someone that old enough to be this actress's mother yell at her about, you just don't understand me, Mom. It's very, very surreal to me.
And I think what's interesting with this one is every character, every main character gets this song.
Yeah.
At some point in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's a good through line.
It's a good excuse for them to say their emotions to nothing.
And you can say that it's lazy or whatever, but it's a good thing to have in a show,
100%. There's a reason why phone calls or voicemails are a very useful narrative device in a lot of things. Thank God that FaceTime is developing FaceTime voicemail. It's going to help filmmaking a lot. I guess we have to move on to Anagram, which is the strangely the marketing push of this show. Everyone's singing this. It's what they sang at the Tony. It's the first clip they released, the first song they released.
Yeah.
I like your point of view.
Yeah. Yick, yicky, Mickey, Ricky, icky.
I like the way you make a point. I like your frame of mind. A little quick, a little sharp, a little beat behind. I like the way you crack a joke that no one else will get. A little dry, a little droll, a little dumb, and yet
Okra, cobra, marble, barley.
I like your point of view.
Bravo, cello, limo, Rio, macro, micro, mayo, bakery.
Oh, with the turn of a letter. Oh, everything's better. I wonder how you see the things you see with a change of perspective. Nothing's defective.
What are your thoughts on this song?
This is like Kimberly's love song with Seth.
Love discovery, romantic discovery.
Yeah, it's sad in a number of ways because she's gonna die like really soon. So it's like, damn, that sucks. But also like, it's good.
It is, but I am discovering something about David Lindsay Abair's lyric writing, both in this and in Shrek the Musical, which are the two big ones I know him from. He relies a lot on noises as opposed to words. A repeated noise. So like Kim's oh, like consistently through it. And the same like for the opening number, uh-oh. And for Shrek the Musical, like he will just find one noise and repeat it a lot and make that throughout it.
Part of the rhyming scheme.
Yeah, and kind of use that as
Because
a
it's
structure.
easy to rhyme something with O, because O is not a word. You can just end a different word with O, and then that rhymes.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just a thing. Like, not everything that I point out is like, oh, it's a bad thing. It's just a thing that I am discovering.
I think it's actually interesting, and I think a lot of lyricists are sometimes afraid to just have characters make a noise.
Yeah.
And I think that that's actually a totally fine and valid. I like it's like those old songs where people would go shoo up, da da, and it's like that's not a word.
I feel like most people are trying to be really clever about it. I think it's a quote from Anais Mitchell that I think was pointed towards Sondheim when she made it. Anais Mitchell, who wrote Hadestown, which is the focus on perfect rhymes and consistency is in direct relationship to how uncomplex the male orgasm is. Which I'm like, okay, that's a take. I see where, for some reason, that makes sense to me.
Someone to talk to, someone to study with, someone to share a joke, someone to buddy with. Buddy with. I should be happy for her. Happy, happy, happy for her. I should be happy.
And a gentleman can be rearranged to spell elegant man.
I like happy for her a lot. It reminds me a lot of Janine Tesori's other bad, sad dad musicals. Like, and they all take place in cars. You got Violet, you've got Fun Home, you've got this, or it's just like dad and me in a car, and it's a little weird.
You know, sad dads are great, but this is more of a bad sad dad, which is not as great. I like normal sad dads where they're not bad sad dads, you know? Like I like sad dads that are sad but they're good dads.
This is why we'll never get quoted in like any real publication ever, because that's all that they can write. They will have to take that as your full quote, and it's just gibberish. At the bottom of the poster, I like a sad dad, but I don't like a bad sad dad. But this is more of a mad bad sad dad, and I just kind of like a sad dad.
Well, you can put that on a poster. I don't understand.
Someone photoshopped that to the bottom of the Kimberly Akimbo poster.
Would anyone ever quote us on a poster anyways? I would be upset if someone did that. I'd be like, really? You're using us?
We have been used in academic paperwork as references, just so
By
you know.
our fans, or?
I mean, who the fuck else? Who else is listening to us?
I mean, that's funny, but are we academic?
I don't know. We've been called it before.
I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but we do actually zero research. Like, literally,
that's not true. That is not entirely true. I do a lot of research. Not
entirely true. I do no research. Jess does a little research and calls it a lot.
I undersell how much research I do. I feel like a lot of, especially the early days, was just me having that info.
Now you have to actually sort of look stuff up so you
Yeah,
can keep the title of the guy that knows.
It's getting harder every year, man. These new fucking fangled Broadway composers thinking they are cool. Yeah, okay, so not so fun fact, but when Jason Robert Brown went up to the mic because Jason Robert Brown has never been able to give a speech at the Tonys on air. For when he won Best Musical or Best Orchestrations or whatever he won, he's always been left off air. And this time, Parade won Best Revival, so he was like, finally, it's my time. He gets up to the mic, gets 2 words out, they cut him off. And then he got out, Mary Fagan, then just cut off. Music playing.
Oh my God. Wow. That's like rude.
I almost wish we had done a live stream that night so we could have seen that moment. And
Okay.
the Tonys were weird. They weren't allowed to have writers, so they were like, I don't know who's next, but they're going up. They had to improv during everything. It was a shit show.
Oh yeah, because the writers are all on
Striking.
strike.
Yep.
Are music theater writers also on strike? Is music theater about to be shitty for the next 3 years?
No, it doesn't affect us because different guilds. However, there are people that were a part of the WGA that were nominated for awards, and the WGA asked them not to attend. And the Tony Commission got a special thing that allowed them to go on as usual.
Okay.
And that pissed off a lot of people.
All right. So how to wash a check?
All right, listen. This mailbox is filled with checks, which we're gonna retrieve and wipe clean.
isn't that check fraud?
I mean, what even is check fraud?
It's the fraudulent use of checks.
Merriam-Webster over here. Okay, let's review. How to wash a check. Tie the fish line. Open the mailbox. Drop the glue trap. Get a bite. Pull the line up. Take the check out. Make a copy. Do it right. Or nobody gets what they want. Nobody gets what they want. Sing it.
Nobody gets what they want.
In harmony.
Nobody gets what they want.
Yeah. Comedy number. Big, funny comedy. Like, you like a heist? You like a con man?
I mean, at least it's the Act 2 opener.
Yeah.
Which you can almost forgive it. You can be like, okay, well, fine.
Did you learn how to wash a check, though?
Honestly, it wasn't as instructive as I was hoping. I learned a lot more about how to get a glue trap stuck to my head.
Yeah. Or how to get your hand stuck in a mailbox, just like Charlie Brown.
I do love that the conclusion to the stealing all these checks and stealing the mailboxes and all of that. The conclusion to that is Kimberly just takes all the money for herself and doesn't give Deborah any cut at all.
Yeah,
or anyone else a cut, probably, for that matter.
The kids got their cut because they got their costumes for show choir.
Oh, right. That's what they were doing it for, the costume. So she gives everyone but Deborah a cut.
Yes. Kimberly's a decent person.
She still stole all that money.
Yeah, it's not her money, but she's gonna die. What are you gonna sue, her corpse?
That's true. Good shit. Congratulations, Kimberly. You did it.
Finally, a character I can get behind. I think stealing is good. I think robbing a bank is a victimless crime.
I think robbing a bank is a victimless crime, but I think taking money from people's personal bank accounts is not a victimless crime. Though, likely they can get that money back. I mean, they're usually insured, and if they can prove that it wasn't them, I mean...
Victimless crime. Moving on to Before I Go.
I'm still here. I was never the girl you intended. She was young and she was bold. She'd hold your hand when you got old. Let's admit the dream has ended. And what you wished for wasn't me. It was the ghost of a girl I'll never be.
Which is Kimberly's 11 o'clock number.
Banger. I mean, come on. I've already said this a little bit. This song bangs, fucking good as hell. The whole ending, like everything from when she goes to the hospital, I think is pretty freaking solid, you know?
I agree, but like I didn't talk much about the lyrics, except for maybe like the specifics. Here's where they really sing to me. It breaks down like who Kimberly is and every failure that she feels that she has, which is, I was never the girl you intended. She was young and she was bold. She'd hold your hand when you got old. Let's admit the dream has ended, and what you wished for wasn't me. Was the ghost of the girl I'll never be. That's so fucked up. So true.
Yeah, it's really sad. This whole thing was really sad, but somehow they still managed to spin it and have it end with like an optimistic, almost a happy ending, which is wild, and I actually appreciate that because some shows, like, I feel like it's easy to just be
a downer,
really depressing and just a downer. It's difficult to be really sad but still sweet at the end. You know, that's difficult.
It's weird to have, because it's not a really resolute ending. You don't feel resolved, but she says like, thank you for the treehouse. I'm going to bungee, but instead I'm going to bungee jump. I'm going to jet ski. I'm going to hang glide and clog dance and swim at the bottom of the waterfall in New Zealand. I'll see the world. Smiley face. It's a promise that I know I don't have time, but the last bits I'm actually going to live, because she's had to live in this shitty house with these shitty people for all of her very short life.
Yeah.
And it's such a bummer. So she's finally, despite not having much time left, going to do what she can with the time.
Yeah. It's the good ending.
Now.
And they almost tease the bad ending because when she goes to the hospital, there's a I think a part of everybody in the audience who's like, oh, this is how the show's gonna end, huh?
We're getting like the sad dead ending.
Well, it's a really easy ending to do, right? Like just everyone comes to the hospital and oh my goodness, it's so sad, and then she sings her big.
Had more time.
Yeah, and then she dies, and everyone goes, oh my goodness, she changed all of us for the better somehow.
And then they're like, I will use my time to be better, my time to love harder, like that kind of
it's just
bullshit.
like, and that's just like that's the easy ending, right? The hard ending is something else.
This is so much better than that ending. The ending we made up and they never had.
Of course, no, but like you can see that though.
Oh,
like,
I could. It's
like there's a lot of shows that would have just done that.
Yeah, what a surprisingly good show.
Is
For
that
something
the ending to Rent?
Well, yeah, but then Rent also goes bittersweet by like, oh, she comes back to life.
Yeah, but that part's fictional.
That's a Jacob's Ladder ending. I die without you. Okay, Janine Sasori tier list. I'm gonna give you. Where do you think Kimberly Akimbo is gonna fall first?
I know we've had some criticisms, but I don't know the competition, but I'm gonna go with A.
You want to start with other ones first?
Let's just throw it in A, and we'll move
All
things
right.
around if there's something else.
All right, now we're gonna go to Violet. Do you remember that show we talked about with Pearl Ryan?
God, I barely remember this show. I remember saying something about like the facial scar wasn't like at what I thought it would be.
You like the sad dad element of that show.
I did. God, I remember so little though, I can't possibly put it in A. We'll put it in B because I feel like I kind of liked it when we watched it,
That's fair.
but I don't know, maybe it goes lower. We'll see what the others are.
Next, we have Thoroughly Modern Millie. I don't think you forgot this one.
Yeah, but that's for all the wrong reasons.
White Slavers.
I don't think I feel comfortable not putting this in D tier.
Yeah.
Just because, like, does it even deserve it though? Like, there are good songs and things in it.
I'd say D tier if this were my list, sincerely.
Yeah, the racism thing is a little bit hard to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. I think the music in that is not that bad though.
Next up, we have Caroline or Change. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I remember not thinking it was that good.
Damn.
I remember being kind of bored by it.
All right, where are you putting it?
Gotta
be above Millie.
Yeah, I gotta put it in C.
If this were my list, I'd flop. I'd put Caroline in B and Violet in C, but
I could see that even, but both of these they're both like I don't remember them, and I remember feeling like I liked Violet more, but I might even be wrong about that.
Then we have Shrek the Musical.
The meme part of me says A immediately, obviously, but that might be a B. Nah, we're putting it in A. It's an A. I think it's below Kimberly Akimbo though. I think I actually like Kimberly Akimbo more.
All right. Fun Home.
B.
Really? Below Violet?
Not below. We'll keep them the same.
Why? Okay. Below Shrek and Kimberly Akimbo?
Dude, I did not have that much fun with Fun Home. I'm gonna be real.
Well,
Shrek and Kimberly Akimbo, I was like, dang, these are pretty good. Fun Home, I was like, this is like good, but like I don't know.
you're crazy, man. You're crazy and you're wrong.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. It's B tier.
Okay, so Andrew's official Janine Tesori ranking is Kimberly Akimbo, Shrek the Musical, Violet, Fun Home, Caroline or Change, and Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Look, you want Fun Home up above everything else, don't you? You want like there to be an S tier and it's in there? Fuck you. It wasn't that good. Fun Home is mid.
Okay. Eventually, we will have to talk about Tesori's other work, including her songs for The Emperor's New Groove 2, Kronk's New Groove, Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning, Mulan 2, and, just all those babies.
Dang, she was pumping out some stuff for those Disney sequels, huh?
Yeah, but they've never asked her to do a proper movie yet. They
That's
go to
sad.
Lin-Manuel Miranda for that.
She probably did a pretty decent job for those, too. I mean, a lot of the songs in those sequels aren't that bad.
No, I am confused as to why they don't use her either. She has a very similar sound to like Alan Menken.
And she did Shrek the Musical. Like, come on.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why.
Oh, because of Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, Lord Farquaad was not gonna have that.
Oh,
What's
well.
your overall thoughts on Kimberly Akimbo and your cheese rating?
I actually really enjoyed it. There's certain elements that I feel like the show could go without, and maybe they could just be better tied into the rest of the story in some way. But really, any complaint I have is more of a minor thing, and I think the overall complete package is something I really enjoyed. Especially the ending. Good Lord. I cry ever, Tim. Okay? I'm telling you. Cheese rating. It's got to be some sort of aged cheese, because of the implications. I'm just going to give it aged cheddar. It's the first thing that comes to my mind.
I mean, that's fair enough. Aged cheddar, I mean, I enjoy the pun. I like Kimberly Akimbo, but I'm not going to lie. I'm still like a little iffy on it.
I do like that Kimberly Akimbo sees the world in all its wonders.
Yeah, she sees the world in all of its wonders. She sees things differently. I like the way you think. But I am giving this, you know what? I'm going to put it in an anagram.
Go ahead.
Juliet, you have to figure out what it is. I don't think they're going to do it. Announce Defoe fetish. And Defoe is spelled DEFOE. Announce Defoe fetish. That is my cheese rating.
I'm not going to try to figure it out. This is up to someone else.
Juliet, it's up to you. What is my cheese rating? Earn your rank as our cheese ranker. Keeper of the cheese. What is my cheese rating? It does have the word cheese in there, if that helps. I did give you at least one word, so. All right, Andrew. That was a lot of fun. But you know what else has a lot of fun?
The basketball-sized hail outside.
Yes, destroying my car, but also our wonderful patrons. Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese. Our Patreon-only podcast is called Patreon with Cheese. Come check us over there on Patreon. Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com to tell us how wrong Andrew is about putting Fun Homes so low on their tier list. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. And here's a little ASMR for you, Anagram. Enjoy that. This show is edited by Andrew DeWolf, and he does a fantastic job. Saying that myself. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for, having critiques about Kimberly Akimbo, the Lord Savior of Broadway. All right, is there anything else you have left to say, Andrew?
I have seen the world and all its wonders.
From the Dardanelles to the mountains of Peru. But there's no place like Jersey.
Six Flags.
No, there's no place like Jersey. You are young. Life has been kind to you. I'm Kimberly Akimbo.
I'm 16 and old.
I'm 16 years old, but I'm also very old. I'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. I like the way you see the world. I like your point of view. A little sly, a little strange, a little bit askew. I like the way you look at life and think outside the box. A little odd, a little off, a bit unorthodox. I like your point of view.